I don't see a lot of representation for these badass women that I see in my network every day. Why is it that when I log into LinkedIn, I can see their great accomplishments? I see them raising rounds of funding for their businesses. I see them quitting their jobs and starting businesses. I see them making changes and moving across the world, creating communities. But when I go online, all I'm met with is a lot of, I hate to say it, alpha males, beta males, tech bros, whatever you want to call it, who are constantly sharing their experience, high-fiving each other, and really dominating on social media. And so I decided to do something about it. Welcome to She's Interesting. I'm your host, Rashel Hariri. Grab your coffee, grab a comfortable seat on the couch, hop on the treadmill, and let's get to know each other. Now, you might be thinking, who is Rashel Hariri and why is she interesting? I am a marketing consultant. I've worked in the marketing field for about 14, 15 years. I'm a strategy consultant, a startup advisor, a speaker, and now I am a podcast host. Hello. I coach ambitious people who want a fulfilling career. I often work with startup advisors or people who have really grand ideas and want to bring them to market, and they just need a coach or an accountability buddy to help them get started. I started She's Interesting to blend all of my passions about technology, about business, about women, equality, and bringing it all together. I also am really passionate about talking about the great things that women are doing. She's Interesting is a podcast for ambitious, high-achieving women over 30. I wanted to create a community that basically took the WhatsApp chat that I have with my girlfriends and expanded it to include more people. So if you're looking for a community to connect with other women, to be inspired, to start a business, to take a leap, to change your life, this is the right place to be. I have some incredible guests that are coming on the show. I have VCs, I have founders, I have community folks. I have so many incredible women that are coming on here, and they are having unfiltered conversations with me about their life, about their childhood, about the way that they think about money and abundance, and everything related with how they got their businesses started, how they became successful. And let me tell you, the advice that we get from these ladies is incredible. And this isn't something that you're going to find online. We have the deepest conversations right here on She's Interesting. So let's take a step back. A year ago, I was thinking about starting a podcast. I had a seed of an idea. The words She's Interesting just came to me. And on October 18th, 2022, I sat down and I purchased the URL for she'sinteresting.com. Fast forward to today, where I am in a studio. I'm in Creator Studio. I'm with this awesome team. We are filming for She's Interesting, and I'm having a launch event on exactly October the 18th, 2023. I don't know if that's manifestation. I don't know if that's great planning on my part. I don't know what that is, but I'm so excited that the seed of an idea is so close to being shared with everyone. And actually at this point, while you're listening to it, it is being shared with you. So thank you for tuning in and thank you for supporting this idea. I am a firm believer that when an idea comes to you, it was meant for you. Ideas flow. They are in the universe. And when something comes to you, it comes to you for a reason. This idea came to me, not the person sitting next to me, not the lady down the street, not any of my neighbors. It came to me for a reason. And I truly think that as I look in my background, this idea for the podcast came from the way that I was raised in my childhood. So let's take a couple steps back so you can get to know the little Rashel and how we got to where we are. I grew up in a big family. I have 4 sisters, and I grew up seeing a strong, independent mother. My father passed away when I was really young, and so I had these incredible role models of women who were independent, who were doing it all, and that's what I grew up seeing. And so as I was like a little kid, I was a little child, I remember even in the schoolyard getting into arguments with boys because they would say things that I thought was sexist. And at the time, you know, as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, you don't really understand, but I just knew that I was like, hey, if you think you can run fast, I can run fast too. Very, very like small childhood moments like that remind me that I was a little feminist even before I knew it. By the time I was 9 years old, I was racing home from school and watching Oprah with my older sisters. And so that kicked off my journey of self-development, my journey of understanding who I am. I learned so much from the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I think some people may laugh at this. I'm laughing at this right now too. But I always used to say when I was growing up that like Oprah was my second mother. I had my real mom, and then I had my TV mom from 4 to 5 p.m. after school every day. It was an incredible time growing up and having Oprah Winfrey as a model or an example for me. At the time, growing up in the 90s, in the 2000s, there weren't that many women of color or Black women that were on TV, or even, like I grew up listening to Brandy, so that's one example. I thought she was great, but there weren't that many women of color that I could look up to. And so seeing Oprah show up on her show regularly, talking about deep topics, helping people to navigate their lives, it really taught me a lot. And it showed me that I too could do great things as I get older. So I had a lot of great examples, and this seed of an idea for She's Interesting really started because I spend a lot of time consuming media. I have been in the marketing space for 14, 15 years, and I consume media every day, all day. I'm constantly critiquing it. I'm looking at what works, what makes things work, what really gets to the core of what audiences are interested in watching and listening to, whether it is driving value, it's educational, it's entertainment, or it just gives you an escape from your everyday life. And so as I have been thinking about and critiquing media, I realized, wait a minute, as a 30-something, 36-year-old woman, I don't see a lot of representation for these badass women that I see in my network every day. Why is it that when I log into LinkedIn, I can see their great accomplishments? I see them raising rounds of funding for their businesses. I see them quitting their jobs and starting businesses. I see them making changes and moving across the world, creating communities. But when I go online, all I'm met with is a lot of, I hate to say it, alpha males, beta males, tech bros, whatever you want to call it, who are constantly sharing their experience, high-fiving each other, and really dominating on social media. And so I decided to do something about it. I decided that instead of sitting there and scrolling through and passing by this content, that I wanted to create content that would inspire people, that would show them that there's more ways to work than just hustling in the grind. And also that doesn't resonate with me. I don't know if this resonates with you guys, but I definitely don't want to work 20 hours a day, never see my family, never go on vacation, sleep under my desk so that in the morning I wake up and start work at 6 a.m. That's not the life I want to live. I believe in living holistically. I believe in working smarter and creating systems and processes for yourself so that you can get ahead without having to sacrifice all the different areas of your life. For a lot of you listening, you might be moms and you are growing a family with your partner, or you may be doing it solo, and that in itself requires a lot of time. And so I don't think that this narrative of this crazy hustle works for all of us. In fact, I would say probably 95% of people will not be in that category that they want to hustle and work 20-hour days. So let's change the narrative. Let's actually talk about what are some ways that make sense for us to be able to start our businesses, to thrive, to feel good about our lives, and to have some balance at the end of the day. So when I first started the podcast, I sat down with Anthony from Creator Club Studios to get some advice. And the first thing he said was, your first episode is going to be shit. So just like get that out of the way and just acknowledge that that's how it's going to be. And I was like, that seems like fair advice. That's really good. It prepares you and it lets you know, take off some of that pressure before you start. But I will say that I was like, that's not for me. I'm fine. I've been doing this for so many years. I've been speaking on panels. I have been on other people's podcasts. I think I'm going to be fine. But let me tell you, I was so quickly humbled because after my first episode, I left the studio. I was like sweating because I was trying to make sure that I was on time, that my guest was comfortable, that my questions were coming across the right way, that I was keeping a really good cadence throughout the interview, that my presence was there. And I was really just overthinking it. And when the episodes were done and I received it, it actually took me a couple of weeks to sit down and listen and watch it. And when I did, I was like, okay, this probably isn't my greatest work. My guest was fantastic. I won't tell you who she is, but you guys can guess which episode you think was my first. But it was definitely a learning situation for me. And what I will say is, from that day, I promised myself, and I promise you guys, my listeners, that perfection, we are leaving it at the door. Perfection does not exist on this podcast. I don't give a shit about perfection. We are just going to have fun, ask questions, hang out. I'm bringing these incredible women into the studio. We are learning from each other. We are sharing insights. And I don't want it to be focused so much on perfection. Like, society already puts enough pressure on us as women to act a certain way, sound a certain way. Don't be too smart. Don't be too not smart. Don't be too pretty, but also don't be unattractive. Don't be overweight, but don't be skinny. And so I want this podcast to be a space where we can come and we can leave all that bullshit at the door, that perfection doesn't exist. And we're just going to have real conversations, unfiltered emotions, and we're going to share how we got successful. We're going to talk about finances. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about business. And that's really what I care about. That's what this is for. The things that you chat with your girlfriends about in your WhatsApp group, where you're like, hey, I'm not sure how to, do branding for my company and I need help. Who should I go to? That's the kind of stuff that we want to talk about here. Let's talk about business and real talk. Let's talk about balance too, because that's super important to me. I don't think that we should be hustling 24 hours a day. I think there's a balance. And I think that we are in an era where women have so much power that we can determine and we can decide how we want to work, how we want to build our businesses, and how we want to appear online and create a community. So this episode is a little bit shorter because it was just an intro, get to know me and get to understand She's Interesting beyond the trailer. It's a chance for us to have a one-on-one, a coffee chat, a stop, start, continue, if you will. Hopefully I'm not giving anybody any PTSD from work, but it's an opportunity for us to just start this journey together. So I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank you all for tuning in, for everyone who's been supporting the podcast and has been so amazing and lifting me up and giving me incredible advice, making introductions for me, supporting the podcast, promoting the podcast on my behalf. You guys are awesome, and I will never forget it. I want to let you know that She's Interesting is on all streaming platforms. So find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube. Make sure to leave us a review and subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to hang out some more, you can always follow us at She's Interesting Podcast across all social channels. And you can even sign up for the newsletter. Lots of great stuff coming out in that newsletter on a weekly basis. And I'm so excited to share it with you all. Season 1 is going to be incredible. I have some wonderful, super smart, super successful women who are going to be on this show sharing their advice. Everyone from founders, VCs, and some of Toronto's most incredible entrepreneurs. You guys are in for an incredible ride. So welcome to season 1 of She's Interesting. Let's get going.